Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current players. We're talking about episode 3 of Survivor 43 tonight, also on the divorce papers.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about Survivor, I'm getting a divorce.
From what?
Oh, yeah.
Taco Bell?
No, also on the divorce papers is the name of the episode. Hopefully no one here is getting divorced.
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Marriage is the leading cause of divorce. Tom Brady and Giselle, I hear, actually.
Oh, yeah.
For football
Too
fans
soon.
out there.
Too soon.
Tom Brady, big fan of the podcast. I'm sorry, buddy. You're a public figure.
So we watched episode 3 tonight. I think a pretty average episode of Survivor.
I was a little bit more negative on this episode than I was positive, simply because the edit felt a little imbalanced to me. I think in a 2-hour premiere and in a 90-minute episode, you can do 2, 3, 4 flashbacks, and that's fine, and it's okay. This time I felt like we had 3 flashbacks, and one of them was pretty unnecessary. So don't get me wrong, I would rather have more backstory and get to know the characters than have too few and have people be gone before we know anything about them. But this one felt a little bit imbalanced to me. So other than that, pretty run-of-the-mill Survivor. I wish we would have gotten a little more strategy, a little more from the Coco tribe, because we don't know anything that's going on over there, and maybe 1 or 2 fewer flashbacks. So that's just my opinion.
As is tradition with the Coco tribe. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty average episode. My complaints are kind of along the same lines as Derek's, where it was mostly editing. Just throughout the episode, like we kind of got to the immunity challenge, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is for immunity. That's right. I think I was just spoiled or used to the first 2 episodes being so long that it's just like we're 25 minutes in and we're at the immunity challenge. Just kind of felt weird to me. But then it just seemed a little anticlimactic. I don't know what was different, but it just really seemed like it's like, here's the votes, here's the person. It's like, okay, bye.
Well, we were set up with all, potentially advantage stuff happening, and none of it happened. So it feels a little anticlimactic. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, though I do think the gameplay ended up being bad overall. I don't mind the flashbacks. In fact, I like the flashbacks. I'm so used to Survivor not developing anyone, hardly, except for like the winner, and this time we're developing everyone, so I'd much rather have this. But yeah, just kind of an average episode of Survivor. Not bad, just average.
I'm just worried that we're sacrificing on island relationships and interactions for people talking about their backstories. Like we got more from even like Jesse this week, when we got a ton from Jesse last week, which is, I'm not going to complain about that stuff too much, but at a certain point, like I need a little bit more of a balance.
Well, I think the Jesse flashback was just to kind of really shade in his relationship with Nika. He was comparing her to his mom, and how, some people have terrible moms. Jesse does not. So the comparison, I think that was important. So I like the Jesse flashback.
And it might be easier if we just get into the spoiler sections of this episode now. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's worth it. 3, 2, 1. Obviously we are going to lose Naked tonight. Yep. So I do think that the Jesse flashback makes a lot of sense because there was a relationship that was going to be severed there. The big flashback that I actually had an issue with was Noelle's, because almost everything they gave us in that flashback, we've already heard. We knew she lost her leg in a moped accident, and we knew that she had set the US Paralympic record for the 100-meter dash. The only thing they kind of shaded in a little bit more was that she was able to return to lacrosse, and it looks like they had video of her scoring a goal. But to what Josh said earlier, I would have loved 2.5 more minutes where obviously Cody and Jesse go to Dwight and Noelle and say, hey, we're thinking about voting out Neka. And then us going into tribal, we think, okay, are they going to go with Noelle? Are they going to go with Neka? Does Noelle need to use her advantage? It would have built that suspense up a little bit more. And I think that's where the flashbacks took away from the strategizing portion, and there was a little bit of an imbalanced episode. That said, I am in agreement with Ryan that I'd rather have it than not, but we can't be sacrificing the game for flashbacks this much.
Yeah, I have too many questions after the episode for my comfort level. Like I'm okay having questions afterwards and getting that clarity next week. That's perfectly fine. But I'm I was left confused at people's decisions or how they got to it. So I'd like a little bit more context into how this vote was approached.
I have no questions. I don't know what happened. I get it. I think it was a bad move. To spoil it, I think the wrong person went home tonight. I get why. I like the Noelle flashbacks, and yeah, some of it was a little redundant. I didn't know, like, the new thing was that, she continued to play D1 athletics after getting in the accident, which is cool. I didn't know that. And then I think it was also to like show how strong she is and why she ended up being kept. And then I think the idea you had where we see Cody and Jesse talking to Dwight, I think that would have spoiled it. Survivor doesn't do that too often. That final conversation between two potentially opposing forces, we don't see that very often. So I'm not at all surprised that we didn't get it, and I didn't need it. So I have no problem with that. I just think and it's not even a problem. It was just the way the game went. This episode is we were introduced to a new advantage in this episode. Seemed like we could have the potential to play it, and it just didn't come into play. That makes it seem a little, anticlimactic. That's not Survivor's fault. That's just the way that episode went.
I see where you're coming from. I side more with Josh on this. I have a few, particularly with Cody, because he explicitly said that he wanted to keep Naka, and then all of a sudden it was a unanimous vote. So I don't think that it would have been a spoiler. And there have been plenty of times where going into a tribal council, you have a pretty good idea of who's going home, and that's okay. But at least we got to see both sides of the story. And this time we got one side, and it ended up kind of going completely the other way, and not the way we thought we were going to get it with the advantage that came into play. So if I'm Noelle, I would have probably played my advantage tonight. And obviously she felt secure enough, and we didn't have that context. But it might be easier if we just jump into the episode and talk about this more when we get there.
All right, so let's jump into this thing. Episode 3. So Vessi, after coming back from tribal council, Dwight obviously has some hesitation with Jesse not voting the way Dwight wanted him to vote. He still wants to work with Jesse in the future, but he's really wary of him and makes a side alliance with Noelle, just like watch each other's backs. And it's going to work out pretty well for Dwight and Noelle in this episode, I got to say.
Yeah, and I like Jesse's immediate comeback with, I'm not going to play Dwight's game. He didn't have a vote, so I'm going to play my game, and I'm going to vote the way that I want to.
I have a hunch Jesse's going to go down because of Dwight and Noelle. I think Jesse's going to lose this war.
Like get this comeuppance.
Yep.
It's very possible. The 4-person tribe and the steal a vote advantage we're going to get to eventually is going to make it so interesting when we get to who's going next on this tribe. But yeah, there is fallout from this vote.
Yeah, I'm a Jesse fan, and I'm nervous for him.
Yeah. You picked him to survive in our Survivor.
I did.
Poll,
what that timing though? I got really worried going into tribal.
Yeah, because when we went back, because you two were both potentially on the block, and I was like, oh god, someone's gonna be out of the league, and I was right.
Womp womp.
We'll talk about that when we get into that segment. But yeah, Derek is out.
I'm out already. I'm out early.
All right, over on Baca, Gabler. Basically, he's falling apart. He's a wreck. And both Ellie and Janine are kind of getting sick of his crap, and they would 100% vote him out next if he didn't have this idol. Ellie somehow gets it in her head that she thinks Gabler didn't like read his note correctly, and he thinks that his idol's no longer good because there's been 2 tribal councils. Why would you believe that? Don't assume somebody's an idiot on Survivor. Assume they're smart. That's a much better way to go. And then when they prove they're an idiot, great. But assume they're smart. This is foolish.
That's a good lesson for life. Assume that somebody is incredibly intelligent and let them prove you otherwise. That way you don't ever underestimate anybody. And that's just, I don't know, good social courtesy, because everyone has strengths. And to assume that Gabler is just this bumbling buffoon it's going to cost her some social equity this episode.
Well, and you see this, I can't think of any specific examples, but we've seen this in past seasons where people almost get too confident, or like they think that they're smarter than everyone else, or smarter than what they actually are, or have a better grasp on a read of everyone else. And they end up either screwing themselves or exposing themselves to whoever they might be trying to manipulate. And that's probably going to happen here.
Yeah, I think Ellie's gonna run into a downfall as well. So her plan is she wants to like casually talk to Gabler about his idol and be like, wow, it's so cool. You can use it as a fake idol now and try and gauge whether or not he knows it's real. Sammy's like, you know what? I'm kind of getting sick of Ellie running the show over here, so I'm going to tell Gabler everything. I think he showed his age a little bit here. Not necessarily a bad move, but I can, his emotional thing. It's like, okay, 19-year-old.
It's almost like he did the right thing, but the thing that we like to credit on this podcast is the finesse side of things, especially when it comes to the social game, the social finesse of a player. And I feel like maybe it's because of his age, maybe whatever it might be, maybe he's just not as good of a player as what he thinks, but he's just missing a little bit there. It seemed like he was just trying to make it too obvious for Gabler.
So he is going to tell Gabler that Ellie and Janine went through his bag. He's going to really focus on Ellie, even though Janine was the one who went through his bag, but whatever.
If he's more threatened by Ellie, then I love this move.
Yeah, totally fine. So this is going to solidify, I think, the guys' alliance on Baca. And then they tell Gabler about Ellie's plan to, like, see if you think it's a fake idol. And so when Ellie does come in, Gabler's like, yeah, it's cool. I can use it as a fake idol. I'm going to bring it home as a souvenir. I think Ellie's walking into a trap, and I think she might be the victim of this idol.
She's setting the trap, and then she's going to walk into it. Not
great. For someone, I'm really glad Ryan's on this season right now, because this would be my winner pick otherwise, and I'd be like, uh-oh. So over on Coco, it's James's birthday. The tribe makes a bracelet and gives it to him. And
hilarious.
Yep.
By the way, who could have guessed?
And I was just waiting because I saw the beads on the bracelet. I'm like, what are the chances? Like, how ironic. What would happen if I was thinking James. I'm like, what if James finds the Beware advantage and it's the exact same thing and he has to get another bracelet? I thought that's kind of where it was going.
I'm not gonna lie for a second, because James had said, like, I'm gonna go find it or whatever. I thought there was a chance he had already found it and convinced them to make him a birthday bracelet, and then we were gonna get the flashback of like, I said I wanted a bracelet for my birthday. That's a bunch of crap. I actually found the Beware advantage yesterday. But the beads were suspiciously small, so it was like in and out of my brain. But I was like, oh, please, that would have been beautiful.
I thought it would have been funny if he had already had the beads. Like, he goes and finds the Beware advantage, and he realizes, I already have all the beads. They're on my bracelet. They already gave them all to me.
Yeah, James Thanos, yeah, that'd been great.
His social game is just that good.
So Carla goes out and finds the Beware advantage, and she decides she's going to put it back and not take it because she could lose her vote. Commercial break. She's going to come back from commercial and immediately go get it. Dang it, Carla.
And this is so difficult because, like, I am loving Carla more and more every single episode. Like, she was my number 2 winner pick, and I kind of wish I would have picked her as my number 1. I'm still Team Cassidy here, even though we haven't really seen much of her.
We got a confessional from her here.
We did get a confessional from her. True. But I'm really liking Carla, and I was just super happy that she put it down. The only thing is, we're on basically day 1 of this episode, if you want to call it that, this section of before the vote. Since you have an extra couple of days, is it better to take a chance with the Beware advantage versus someone like Cody taking it 2 hours before Tribal?
It's certainly better, but Carla's in a position where she doesn't need this. Derek actually had a really good idea, which I'll let you explain.
I thought that she should bring her alliance to the Beware advantage and they should talk about it, kind of like what Shan and Ricard did in season 40. Was it 41?
Yep.
So make it a little bit more of a group, and then she doesn't take the risk for herself, but her majority alliance still has control of the Beware advantage. And we get a smidgen of it where she's talking about it with James, saying maybe James will take it, but then she decides she wants to assume the risk for herself. My big issue with Carla taking it is they have untested battle lines on this tribe. I think if she knew that she was in a solid alliance of 4 with an easy 5th member, you take this every time. But we still don't know. We have the idea of a women's alliance plus James, but it's never been tested. So we have to remember that. And this this tribe is feeling a lot like Luvu from 41 as well, where they're just like chomping at the bit, like they want to play, but they're doing too well in the pre-merge. So I liked that she stayed her hand at first. I don't know if I would have had the guts to open this Beware advantage if I was her, but
she shouldn't have.
And she shouldn't have, but it's not as horrible of a move as it could have been, considering they do have an alliance of 4 on a tribe of 6. So it's not a cardinal sin. I just probably wouldn't have done it. I would have erred on the side of no.
Well, and like you said, we haven't seen where she's going to go in this alliance. She could go either way. So I don't really think that there's a good opportunity for her to bring like an alliance over to the Beware advantage to talk it through or anything like that. Well, I don't think you would necessarily want to do that yet.
I disagree with you, Josh. I'm with Derek. If you can pick either alliance and bring them over, and then if you can convince one of those other ones to take it, you know where it is, you know who has, you know what effect it will have. Then, and this is specifically for Carla, she could flip to the other alliance because she's like, ooh, they're screwed, or ooh, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm going the other way. So I think specifically for Carla, that could have been brilliant.
Especially because they would have needed her bead. She wouldn't have even had to give the bead. It's like, we're going to hold off on this until before tribal. And then it's like, cool, you might end up axing somebody out of the game or building a game length alliance. So I feel like it opens up a myriad of opportunities. I don't mind ultimately what she did. I probably wouldn't have done it.
I do mind.
Sure.
I would not have done this just because of what we saw in 41 and 42, that this could last like 2 or 3 votes. Completely out of your control. Like you could do something amazing with it, and sure, great, you get the advantage, but there could have been someone on the other tribe that's preventing you from actually getting this advantage. So I would stay so far away,
especially because she's in the majority right now. Either way, she's gonna go back and get it. She's gonna lose her vote. She's got to get the beads. She is going to get all the beads just by being very smooth socially and talking to everybody and doing some trading. So if you're going to dig yourself a hole, be able to get yourself out of it. We gave props to Cody for doing that last week. I'll do the same here. She dug herself a hole. She's out of it. Now she's got an idol.
And for the time being, a secret one.
A secret one. No one knows she's got it.
The one thing is that Cody will know.
Yep.
And I guess someone eventually on Baka may know, but, you know, that requires someone to go out and find that Beware advantage too.
We're going to the immunity challenge. Gio is going to sit out for the Coco tribe, and he's going to be on the sit-out bench, and he's going to check underneath it for stuff.
Just checking,
which I really like.
I love that they showed that.
Yep, it's progression of everything we've seen so far in Survivor.
Rule 21: learn from past events.
I was hoping we were going to get like a shot of someone that was like still sitting at like the top of the challenge, like Cody or someone who is still up there. It's just like, was Gio looking under the sit-out bench? It's like someone actually like paying
that would have been
attention
funny
to it.
Baka's gonna win because on Vessi, Jesse and Nick are doing the puzzle. I should say part of it was a swimming challenge. Noelle takes her leg off and does it one-legged and does amazing. But for Vessi, Jesse and Nick are on the puzzle and they blow it once again. Nick blows it once again. Jesse blows it as well. Baka wins. Coco gets second. Bessie's gonna go to tribal council. Baka gets to someone from each tribe and their own tribe on a journey to Mystery Adventure Island. First, they got to pick someone from Bessie, and they're going to send Noelle, which I don't like. I think they should have sent NECA. I'm of the belief that you send the weakest person on the other tribe, generally, and because they're probably the most obvious target, so they can cause some chaos on the tribe and maybe knock out a strong player. So someone who's blown the challenge twice now, you send her.
And I hadn't even thought about the fact that she'd blown 2 challenges, but these tribes have absolutely no intermingling except for the first Mystery Adventure Island, which wouldn't have given any insight into what's going on the tribes today. Yep. You know, they've changed since then. So I agree with Ryan. I think NECA was the right move. I will say on the Coco tribe, you don't know enough. Yeah. You know, you got like, first of all, they haven't lost a challenge yet. And then, you know, you don't know enough about their dynamic to try and pick someone who's weakest. So Coco, I don't care, but NECA is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna dock them too much just because if I was looking from the outside in at that tribe, like NECA kind of had her difficulties at the challenge, both challenges. But you know, when you see someone with one leg, you kind of just have to assume that they might be an early target. So
sure.
You know, maybe she's the wild card. You don't, like Derek said, you don't really know who it is. So send the person with one leg just in case they're the one being targeted right now, and she was.
I guess it's kind of just like the scale between the older woman on the tribe who's blown 2 challenges in a row or the amputee, you know, like those are the two visual choices.
Pick your poison.
I mean, we would have sent Gio from Coco just because he sat out, but you know, there's not much there.
Yeah, someone had to sit out,
and they got to send one of their own. And this is an interesting one because normally, Derek and I just discussed this before we got on the podcast. Is normally you don't want to go on this one. Owen is going to volunteer to go, which I don't mind because he knows he is in the majority group. And so he wants to keep any possible advantages out of minority vote hands. So make sure Ellie and Janine don't get it. Make sure one of the guys gets it. There could be a thing where, because this has happened in the past where on these types of things, Survivor doesn't let you send the same person again if you've been before. So I don't know if this is true for sure, but maybe they were told Gabler can't go. That's certainly a possibility. So Owen volunteers to go to make sure if there is anything good, it ends up in the majority hands, but more importantly, to just like block it from getting to Ellie or Janine. So I do like this move for Owen.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I think for everyone in what they know, it was good for everyone on the tribe, because Ellie and Janine think that they have Owen in their back pocket, and they think that they can choose either Owen or Sammy kind of going forward on a more permanent basis. So they don't mind Owen going. They're okay with that. They're like, yeah, cool. If Owen gets an advantage, we'll just target Sammy next time. If Sammy goes and gets an advantage, we'll just target Owen next time. So everyone thinks they're winning, but in fact, it's Owen who's kind of winning because he has the certainty of knowing that he gets to stay in the majority. It's so everyone wins, and Owen was a great choice.
So Vessi, they got to do some scheming and plotting. Cody and Jesse, they're really the deciding votes here because they have to choose between Noelle or Nika. Noelle was great in the challenge. They don't necessarily trust her. They really trust Nika. She was terrible in the challenges. Okay, this is easy. You vote out Noelle.
Trust is the only currency. We've already discussed this at Tribal with Cody.
If you vote out the weakest person that's not in your alliance. Jesse has a pseudo alliance with Dwight. That leaves Noelle. Easy. This is the easiest vote ever. And we really, they milk it and making it seem like it's a hard vote, which is, I thought would be stupid, but they ended up going with the wrong move. So I get it. So clearly it was a hard decision for him. I'm not saying it was easy, but it's still wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is where my confusion and my complaints with the edit come into play, because it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they would go with Nika here, mostly because you have a good group of 3. Like I said last week on the podcast, yeah, technically you kind of have Dwight, but you don't really. Yeah, you're a group of 3 now. You don't really have a group of 4. It's mostly 3 and 2. If Dwight decides to join in with you, great. But don't rely on it. Don't expect it anywhere past swap or merge or anything like that. And because of that, now you're looking at a potential 2 and 2. Like, what are you doing? So what I'm thinking happened is I think that they were approached with the information that Noelle had this advantage. And they were held almost at hostage, like, hey, I'm going to use this unless we vote out Nika, because I would like to use this at some point in the future. I don't want to use it now, but the only way that that's going to happen is if we vote her out and basically do what I want. That's complete assumption on my part, but I can't really reason with this decision right now.
So there are 2 options they could have gone with. They could have just, if they are scared that Noelle has something, which is a fair assumption, you take out Dwight and pretend like Noelle's going and you take out Dwight. The other thing you could do is do everything exactly the same what they did, because they all clearly Noelle felt comfortable enough that she wasn't going home. Maybe she told them and threatened them, maybe not, we don't know. But if they'd played everything exactly the same, at the last minute they threw their votes on Noelle would be out of the game with an advantage in her pocket. They could have done it.
And that's why I'm with Josh and being so confused with what happened strategically, because they could have voted her out and she didn't play it, even though she was out of the loop. Her alliance member went home, and at least Dwight and Jesse had a pseudo working relationship. She didn't really have anything that we saw. So, this or that, we can read between lines and we can say, you could have shaved in 2 more minutes here or there. I'm still kind of left with a few questions because it's the wrong move. And trust is the only thing that you can trust, and Neka had it in spades. So it's interesting.
So the one thing we learned from Survivor 41 exit interviews is when they got back from Mystery Adventure Island journeys, they were given like less than 15 minutes for tribal. So that was part of the penalties. You had no time to strategize much. So based off of that, I am going to assume that Cody and Jesse just decided to go for challenge strength instead of loyalty, and that there wasn't anything more to it. Noelle didn't threaten anybody, just because that's kind of how the show presented it. Unless we get more information, that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, and especially since that is exactly what we were shown. We have to.
Yep.
We can't assume anything else. So unless we're given more information next week or sometime in the future, we just have to go with that.
So yeah, we might get something at the beginning of the next episode that'll tell us why. But until then, this is what we got. On Mystery Adventure Island, Noelle, James, and Owen, they're doing their hike, and Noelle's like, I'm in a terrible position. I was on the outs last time. I'm probably next. Can you guys throw me a bone this time, and I will work with you guys in the future? And they're like, okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a win-win-win.
I loved this. I loved this so much just because it was a great move for literally everyone involved. Like you said, the other two, they just want to cause chaos at the other camp, if at all possible. And this is chaos served on a silver platter for you. So take it.
For the low price of getting to keep your vote.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Like this is free. It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Free real estate.
You trying to sell me something, Ryan?
James and Owen, they don't risk their vote. Noelle does, so she is going to end up getting a vote steal. So great for Noelle, great for Owen, great for James. Yeah, Josh doesn't like the vote steal.
Yeah, I actually have a really big issue with this, just because you have a tribe of 5. I'm just assuming that this was planned out from the beginning from Survivor producers, whatever. Like, this is going to be the advantage at each stage of Mystery Adventure Island. Great. Don't care. Whatever. The issue that I run into here is that a steal a vote is such an overpowered advantage. When
it's
you
as
only
powerful
have
as an
5.
idol.
I don't think it is, because you can still split a vote with an idol. You can't split a vote with a steal a vote like that. All you need is one other person to work with you, and all of a sudden you get your way. Like, barring some other advantage coming into play, like, you can do basically anything you want here with that.
If you have one more person.
I mean, yeah, but how hard would it be to find someone who might be that one person? And even if you're not, I don't know, it just seems like a much better decision here from a production angle would have just been an extra vote. Like, that's still pretty powerful. An extra vote is powerful when it comes to a tribe of 5. Like, that's enough to force a tie. And then you just kind of work from there.
This could have ended up on a tribe of 6. This could have ended up in somebody in the majority's hands, just coincidence or, fate or whatever it is, that it ends up with Noelle. And that's why you have a problem with it, I think.
I see Josh's point.
Yeah,
entirely.
I do see your point.
And it would not have been hard for production to swap this out with an extra vote per se, and just like, save the steal a vote for merge time or whatever or what have you, the next Mystery Adventure Island. But ultimately, the fact that we have 2 5-person tribes that happen to be broken 3 and 2, 3 and 2 does make this super overpowered if someone like Noelle is chosen, by the way, because Vessi didn't get to choose who went.
Yep. She was selected.
That was Baka who had an opportunity to impact the game. So is it overpowered? Yes, but it is by no fault of Vessi that it ended up overpowered for them. That was Baka who chose Noelle to go, and then Noelle who convinced Owen and James to let her have it. So a lot of things had to fall into place for this to break this way.
Well, and I think it's also that it would have benefited 2 people, potentially. This didn't actually end up happening, but it could have potentially benefited 2 people who have had pretty bad games up into this point from poor gameplay. Noelle paired herself with one other person, just had a tight group of 2 and didn't have anything else outside of that. It came back to bite her as her closest alliance member was voted out. It would have also benefited Dwight, who risked his vote, lost it, and then got upset about things not going his way, and then would kind of just take himself out of the equation and go with Noelle with this steal a vote to try to kind of get back at people.
Sure.
I just don't like the way that could have played out. I get that it's just by chance, all this other stuff, but I would have just rather them remove that completely from the equation and just made it something like an extra vote, because then it still takes a little bit of gameplay in order to work that into a good Survivor strategic vote.
I'm completely neutral on this. I don't care at all.
Yeah. And I hear you, Josh.
Noelle is going to tell everyone she didn't risk it, and they can search her bag and check. But then she's going to tell Dwight that she did. She was hiding it in her foot, her fake foot.
Amputees have an unfair advantage in Survivor. I'm saying it now. No more prosthetic legs allowed.
And she's got a vote steal, and she tells Dwight.
I'm obviously kidding.
Yes. Tribal Council, Noelle does not play the vote steal. So it's going to be 4 votes for NECA, 1 vote for Noelle. This is the wrong move, which we've discussed. You keep the person you trust.
Yes, or you try to keep the person you trust, because I don't think that this is going to build a bridge between Cody and then repair the damage that Jesse did already. So you have to try and take the shot, finish what you started, and go forward with people that, you already said it, you trust.
Yeah, we went over all this stuff. The one thing that we didn't really mention, though, is I can't believe that she didn't play the advantage. Like, regardless of how confident you are in the other people on this tribe, like, you're already on the outside of the vote last episode. How can you feel confident enough to not play this thing and potentially go out with it in your pocket? It just, I thought I missed something. I'm like, I've been paying attention this entire time. Like, it's not like I'm sitting on my phone or anything, or, going to the bathroom or getting a snack. I didn't miss anything in this process. And yet we just started the votes and just started reading. I'm like, wait, she didn't play the advantage. What happened?
Obviously, we didn't see everything, which we never do. And obviously she was right. So,
I'm going to make this akin to Marty not playing his idol in Nicaragua.
I don't think that's comparable at all.
I do, because he says that he's going to play it. He doesn't play it. He gets to keep it. So
okay, yes, but we didn't see that.
We didn't see her like dangle it out and say it's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, we all agreed that if it were us, we would have played it. So I'm saying from our perspective, if we had the advantage, or we had the idol, or we had the advantage, we would have played it.
I'm not saying I would have. I'm not going to go ahead and say I would have. I might do what, do someone else to say you're going to play it and then don't play it.
Interesting. All right.
And again, I don't know, because we see 1% of 1%. I'm not,
I understand.
I'm not locking in, like, confirm that rule, but I'm not necessarily saying I would 100%.
If they only had 15 minutes before tribal, then we saw like 10% of like 50%.
15. If we only got like the 15 minutes, if that stayed the same, then I'd probably just play it just to be safe. It depends. We do not know enough. Let's get into best and worst player of the episode, huh?
Let's do it.
For best player, I had Noelle. She, she got sent, not her thing, but she got sent to Mystery Adventure Island, which was not her choice. She convinced James and Owen to give up their shot at risking or getting this advantage, so she got it. She was great in the immunity challenge, and through some magical means, she got everyone to vote for NECA instead of her and kept her advantage. So Noelle's my best player of the episode.
I'll just disagree a little bit and just say Carla, because I love the way that she was able to take the Beware advantage and turn it into a positive, a secret advantage. I don't like that she opened it, but obviously she had a better read of the situation than I did. So I'm going to go ahead and credit her on that. And honestly, I'll credit Noelle for having a better read on the situation than we do at home as well. But ultimately, Carla's in a better position on a stronger, better, more cohesive tribe as of today. So I'm going to give it to Carla.
I don't know how you can give it to Carla. Actually, honorable mention to Carla, but just because she took the Beware advantage almost disqualifies her from this one. Maybe if no one else did anything good, then sure, maybe. But I think you do have to give it to Noelle in this scenario. I don't understand how the vote ended up working out so much in her favor, even to the fact that she didn't play her advantage. I would have played it, but she must have had some sort of read on the situation. So props to her. I have to give her credit for it.
All right. How about worst player of the episode? Derek, who do you got?
I got Ellie. I know that we could have stayed over on the discordant Vessi tribe, but Ellie is playing so overconfidently that she's making completely unnecessary moves that are costing her social equity. Social equity is the number one thing you need to cherish in this game, especially when you're on a newly untested tribe. They haven't been tested since their first vote out. Now 2 votes in the past. she thinks she's in a couple different majorities when in fact she is nothing but clueless. And I think she's actually since dropped below Janine. I think that Gabler would have happily kept her in favor of Janine. I think all of that goodwill is gone because of how she treated Sammy, how she treated Owen, and how she treated Gabler. So I have Ellie. Dishonorable mention to Jesse because I think he had more control, but I'm going with Ellie.
Josh?
I'm also going with Ellie here. I wanted to give it to someone on Vessi. If I would have, I think I would have given it to Cody, just because he was a lot closer to NECA than Jesse was. So he had the most to lose, but not my fault. I didn't give enough information here. I need more information in order to say whether or not this was a bad move by those people on that tribe. I got enough information to tell me that Ellie was playing a little bit too confident over there and thinking that she was maybe more in tune with her social game and the inner workings of the mind of Gabler than what it actually was. So I'm going to give it to Ellie.
I'm going to give mine to Jesse because I don't like the move to vote on NECA. So that leaves it between Cody and Jesse for me. Jesse was bad at the puzzle, which blew the challenge. So that's kind of the tiebreaker for me. Yeah, Cody was closer. I think that's a little bit negligible. So I lean more towards Jesse. I totally get the Ellie thing. Dishonorable mention for Ellie for sure. And dishonorable mention to Cody, but ultimately I get mine to Jesse. All right, let's get into who is going next. Josh, start us off. Take us to Baka. Who is going next on Baka?
On Baka, I'm going to keep it the same as last week. I know we got a lot of Ellie steam here. I do think we got a little bit more solidification of the guys sticking together. So I think that's pretty probable at this point. But I'm going to stick with Janine here.
I'll switch mine to Ellie just because I feel like she's the target of the guys more than Janine is.
Yeah, I'll bite on what we got this episode and say that Ellie is the next target, but she has had more screen time, so it's very likely that Janine goes just based on confessional count. But I'll bite. Survivor, I will bite.
It's Why not? If they didn't tease her going next and next time on Survivor, so that means she could be next. I'll take us over to Coco. Who's going out on Coco? This is really hard to say. I think anybody but Carla at this point. Who does she trust more? It's hard to say because we haven't seen him enough. I'm going to go with Gio.
Sure. I've got Ryan.
I was the only person to say Gio the last, I think, 2 episodes. So I'm glad to have you on my side because I'm sticking with Gio just out of pride.
I'm sticking with Ryan. We haven't seen enough of Coco for me to change my mind.
Derek, take us over to the mess that is Vessi.
Vessi. I had to sit. This was honestly between best and worst and who can't win the game. This is the decision that took me the longest. I do land on Noelle because ultimately Cody still has an idol. And if she plays her advantage publicly, I think she steals Cody's vote because she might have Jesse on her side. So she won't steal his vote if she wants to maintain goodwill. So she'll steal Cody's vote. Cody 100% plays his idol then. And if he plays it correctly, the only vote that'll matter is Jesse's, who knows about the idol. And either that or it'll be a revote. And at that point, I think Dwight and Jesse both turn against Noelle and send her home. So just based on how the advantages break on Vessi right now, advantage Cody, disadvantage Noelle, and Noelle ends up going home in those scenarios.
Ooh. Josh?
I agree with Derek here. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't have a vote by vote, advantage by advantage breakdown, but it just feels like Noelle would go out here. I can't picture any of the other people going out. Maybe Dwight, maybe. It's hard for me to see either Cody or Jesse going home here. I think there's a decent chance that Noelle could go home with an advantage in her pocket even. So I'm going to go with her.
I'll mix it up. I'm going to go with Jesse. I think they will target with the vote still. I think their ultimate target will be Jesse. I think Cody will get scared and play his idol. And Jesse, if they steal Cody's vote and then vote out Jesse, which, they could do, Jesse might play a shot in the dark and save himself. But, 1 in 6 chance. So I'm going to say Jesse goes out next. I think Noelle and Dwight might try and get a little revenge on Jesse. So Jesse's my pick to go out on the messy Vessi.
I think we're definitely going to see I'm not going to say like a big player go home, but someone who's gotten a lot of edit
Yeah.
I think we're going to get that pretty soon here in the next vote or two. Someone like Jesse or Ellie.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, time for my favorite segment. Who cannot win the game? Josh, who do you got? Who cannot win this game?
I'm sticking with Gabler. I haven't been given information enough anywhere else to basically bring them below him at this point.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And especially because they really dialed in on the fact that his social game kind of sucks because he's just doing so poorly physically. So Gabler's my pick as well.
I've had Cody in the past, but I think with the poor attitude stuff, even if his alliance is okay with it right now, I'm with you guys. I think that's only going to become more grating as time goes on. And if Gabler does make it to Final Tribal, it won't be because of his undying charm. So I will switch to Gabler and say that he cannot win.
Welcome to the Gabler side.
Gabble, gabble.
Congratulations on winning Survivor 43, Gabler.
Yeah, big fan of the podcast. Sorry, bro.
All right, let's get to our Survivor pool. We got big breaking news this hour. Derek is out of the Survivor pool.
I'm done.
Womp, womp, womp.
This was the 1 week that I was going to pick someone like Neka, obviously, and I doth wear my waxeth wings too close to the sun, and Icarus has fallen.
Derek is
if you're
out.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Survivor pools, that means Derek's done for the entire season. Basically leaving just Ryan and I to duke it out here.
Now, if both Josh and I get out, we might revamp it with all three of us in it.
Oh, we'll restart it at that point.
Maybe, depending on how deep we are.
Depends on where we are in the season.
If this happens very soon, then yeah, we can. But if if we're at like final 8 or something like that, that might be a little too late.
I'll go first. I'm gonna stick with my strategy. It's been working pretty well so far. I like picking people who have a safety net just to keep me alive in the hopes that Josh is going to make a mistake or Derek is going to make a mistake, which happened. So it's working pretty well for me. Since you got an idol in this episode, I will pick Carla as my survivor.
And to catch everyone else up, me and Ryan have already used Gabler. Last episode, I used Jesse. Ryan used Cody, so they're off the table as well. I also jotted down Carla here.
Boo.
Same as my strategy from before. I'm gonna pick who I perceive at least as the powerhouses right now, who I don't think are gonna go home or who are gonna last a long time. And then if I start running out of people, that's future Josh's problem.
Yep. All right. So we'll see if we both survive this episode.
Yep. Derek's probably rooting for Carla to go home now.
Oh. Nah, I like Carla too much.
Carla's fun.
My winner pick may be Lindsay here on the podcast, but if I had to root for someone right now, I think I'm rooting most for Carla.
Interesting. Yeah, let's do that because my winner pick is Ryan, but I'm rooting most for Cody.
I do hope for good things for Cody.
I really like Jesse. It's between Jesse and Carla for me. They're definitely my top 2 people at this point, but I got a soft spot for Jesse.
Carla and Owen, coincidentally, my number 1 and my number 18 most likely to win the game based on preseason. So I got my bookends here, and I'm sticking with them for now.
So let's go to Twitter. We discussed tonight that Neka was the wrong move, and we always ask Twitter every week what they think. They're wrong a lot of the time. Twitter, what did they say tonight?
In a landslide. We had 83% of Twitter say that the right person went.
Wow. Wow. So I guess we're in the minority on that one, but Twitter, you're wrong.
Twitter doesn't understand the currency of trust.
I think people just like to assume that the person who does bad in challenges needs to go.
Yep.
We lost a Twitter follower last week. Maybe it's because we're constantly bashing on Twitter's opinion of these things.
I regret nothing.
I don't either.
Look, folks, if you want someone to be nice to you about your opinions, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, go talk to your mom.
Go talk to your mom or your therapist or something. If you want honesty about your opinions, come to us.
That's what consultants do.
That's what consultants do. We're not here to be your friends. We're here to be your consultants. Now, granted, we will be friendly to you and talk about Survivor, but if you have a bad opinion, we're going to let you know.
Time.
They don't even let me off the hook if I have a bad opinion. You think they're going to let a stranger off the hook? No.
Yeah, whenever one of the 3 of us has a quote-unquote bad opinion, according to the other 2, we let them know. It's usually Josh and I against Derek.
That's fair.
I mean, just look at 80% of our Rewind series.
Yep. It's rarely Josh or I with the bad opinion, but it happens.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
Oh, but Ryan, past Josh though.
Especially past Josh.
Past
we don't
Josh
talk. We don't talk about past Josh.
The main antagonist of this podcast.
Past Josh is the true villain, true blue villain.
All right, guys. Well, that was episode 3. So we'll see what happens next. I really hope Bessie goes back to tribal council. They're such a mess.
I do too.
I'm excited for whoever goes. I want to see how the lines are drawn at both the other 2 tribes, just because there's still a little bit of mystery there.
Yeah.
You know, and we didn't talk about it, so I'll only touch on it in a second. These punitive challenges, Vessi down back to back, and Coco staying strong. So it might just be a micro piece of that. But if Vessi loses again, Survivor, you got to learn a lesson about this.
And are we completely ruling out tribe swap?
No, we shouldn't. We should not completely rule it out.
Yeah,
because that would happen here in the next couple episodes, maybe.
I was telling Ryan, I want us to swap from a 3 to a 2. I would love that right now.
I would really enjoy that.
We shall see. All right, you can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod and follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We're on Reddit sometimes. We have a website.
I think we got a message on Facebook, even though we've got 3 likes or 7 likes there.
So follow us, talk to us. We're around. We're on basically everything.
And we want to talk to you.
Yep. We love talking Survivor. We'll talk to you about it, not just ourselves.
No matter how bad your takes are.
Yes. Come to us with your terrible takes and we'll tell you how wrong you are. All right, guys. You got anything else?
That's it.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.